life's short, time flies, enjoy the journey. You've heard the expressions before, right? But how much do you live this out on a day-to-day, especially when you go to work? For me, growing up, my dad was a small business owner, working 6 days a week, grinding and sacrificing so that he could provide for his family. My mom had a corporate job, working 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, pension plan, 2 weeks vacation, and amazing dental benefits. When I got jobs as a bartender, car dealerships, working at a law firm, I knew that I was doing the right thing because I had such great role models to aspire to, but something always felt like it was missing. Why did I want more? What was wrong with me that I couldn't just stay and be happy with the 2 weeks vacation that I had? See, I'm the kind of person that I always want more. I always need to ask the question. I need to be curious. And so when someone tells me that I only get 2 weeks or that I only get to come in from 9 to 5, my first thing is, how can I avoid this? How can I go above and beyond? What can I do differently? So today, what I'd like to chat with you about is how I've devoted my life to loving the work that I do, understanding how to build a career that's really engaging and fun, and helping women all over the world to love the work that they do every single day. If you're with me and you'd love to also take on this challenge of loving what you do over the next 10 minutes, I'd love for you to join in on this journey that we're going to take together. So, on average, you're going to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. That's 2,000 hours you're going to put into your work, and probably for 50 years of your lifetime. 100,000 hours. See, the way I look at it and explain it to my clients is that you have a choice. Every hour that you put into that 100,000 hour bucket can be a green hour, one where you love what you're doing, you lose track of time, or it can be a red hour, the one where you're answering emails that you don't want to answer, you're going to meetings that you don't want to be in, or doing projects that are boring and unengaging. So how many hours have you used up of yours so far? And when you think about your hours, how many of them would you say are green? How many are red? Recently, I was chatting with a great friend of mine who's an aerospace engineer, literally a rocket scientist, and I asked him, and I said, Rob, how's your work day? How did it go today? And he said, well, I don't really think about that. I think about how I'm making this huge impact and we're going to launch this big satellite, but I don't really think about what I'm going to do or how I'm enjoying it throughout my day. That's never really crossed my mind. And through my travels over the past 4 years and having thousands of conversations with people, most people are in the same situation. They don't think about what they're doing day to day because they're focused on the salary bump or the performance review or the pension plan or just finishing that project that they have due. They don't consider if they're loving what they've done from their 9 to 5. So how do you get started loving it? What do you do? What does it take to make this different for yourself with one question a day? For me, the first step happened on my 20th birthday. I was having a conversation with my cousin, Irene, and she's 30, and she's the kind of cousin that always got great grades, had a perfect resume. Her hair and nails were just flawless. She was the one that always landed on her feet, and everything worked out for her. Do you know the one? For her, she had the accounting job lined up at the firm. Everything was going great, and I thought if I could just be like Irene, everything would work out for me. And so on my 20th birthday, I sat down with her on the bed in her room, and I said, Irene, tell me what I need to do. You're turning 30, I'm 20. Tell me how I'm going to make the most of this decade. And she said, my 20s, they flew by. I don't know. I regret most of it. I worked too hard. I don't know, but once I finish my MBA and I get the professor's position and I'll just get my salary bump and then I'll be happy, then it'll be great, it'll work out for me. But my 20s, that was a waste of time. And I remember thinking in that moment, that was the moment for me. It wasn't a near-death experience. It wasn't a fatal illness or a big car crash. I didn't lose a job. It was in that moment on her bed where I realized I don't want to regret my 20s or my 30s or my 40s. I don't want to look back on my career when I retire and say that it flew by and that I regret the time I spent. And so it was that day that I decided that I would never waste a single day hating what I was doing, and I wanted to maximize those green hours. And so for you, what if you decided that today, in this talk, just hearing me being here in this moment, you decided that you were going to put yourself back in control of the time that you're spending at work? Now, I can't guarantee you that every single hour you spend going forward is going to be a green hour, but what I can say is that maybe you can move the needle just a little bit. So what's that key question that you have to start asking yourself? Well, for me, I knew that I wasn't going to be an accountant, but then I started thinking, okay, so what am I going to be? And I remember going to my mom and saying, Mom, I'm going to help people all over the world, and I really want to be this coach, and I'm going to share with them and tell them that they can love the work they do, and it's going to be amazing. And she looked at me and she said, Kalyna, you know I love you, right? And it was in that moment that I knew she was going to have something to share with me, right? And she said, well, I love that you're passionate and I support you no matter what you do. But what about people that have serious careers that do important work? What about doctors? So I thought to myself, yeah, maybe she's right. What about doctors? What about politicians and people that have to do really important work and impact lots of people? Maybe if it's a serious job, this doesn't apply to them. This isn't something that works. You can't have fun and be a doctor. Maybe she's right. And so I got on the hunt because, like I said, if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm committed to figuring out a way to do it anyway. And I found a quotation from somebody that I believe is very impactful, has been hugely financially successful, and was very mindful of the topic that I'm talking to you about today, and that's Steve Jobs. And he said, for 33 years, every day I've looked in the mirror and asked myself the question, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And when the answer is no, too many days in a row, I know that something has to change. So there's your question. There's the question to ask yourself every single day. Am I excited about what I'm going to do? Does today make me want to jump out of bed? Is it something that I'm really excited to impact and put my time and energy into, those 100,000 hours? Am I super thrilled to go and do this? For me, I've asked myself that question over the past 4 years every single day. And if the answer is no too many days in a row, I also know that something's got to change, because rather than focusing on if I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer, I focus on what I feel in the moment while I'm doing the action. Because some doctors light up and would say it's a green hour when they have to remove a tumor or deliver a baby. And some lawyers would say it's a green hour when they're going over a contract. You couldn't pay me enough money to do calculus all day long, but for some people, calculus would be a green hour too. And that's when I knew it's not about what the job title is or the profession. It's about how you feel while you're doing it. It's about having it be a green hour for you. You could be an actor making millions, but if you're hating every moment of it, is it worth it? You could be doing Excel spreadsheets all day long, and if that's your thing, awesome. But the job title isn't what's going to dictate your satisfaction. Only you know that. So you've decided that you're going to really maximize your 100,000 hours, and you're going to start asking yourself the question of, am I excited about what I'm about to do today, the next 8 hours of my workday? But what's next? What about the people that tell you that it's too much? It's too unrealistic. Your dream is too big. What about those people? For me, my dream of impacting thousands of women all over the world, it seems daunting every day. But what changed my life and made me able to go down the path of making this happen for myself was one email living in Aruba. And I remember opening it up and it said, if you want to learn how to do this, come to San Francisco and we'll teach you exactly how to do it and you'll make it happen for yourself. And I thought, okay, I'm sold. And a flight to anywhere excites me. So I bought a ticket, I got on the plane, showed up in San Francisco, and got to the event, sat down, and I remember thinking, I don't know if I can make this happen for me. I mean, they've done it, but can I do this too? Is it going to be fun? And my head just started racing, and it all stopped when my mentor came on stage. And he just looked like he was having a blast every single second. His green hours were being up in front of people, sharing his message, showing them that they too could make a coaching business possible for them. It was in that moment that I knew that if he could do it, and he was loving the time spent, and he was impacting thousands of people, and he was financially successful, then why couldn't I do it too? With the right help, with someone that had done exactly what I wanted to do, showing me the way, why not me? And so I started to get that couple's mentorship. And more than that, I also gained a whole community of people going after work that they absolutely love, changing people's lives, being financially successful and impactful, not having to settle. And when I would tell them about a new coaching project that I wanted to do or a speaking engagement, they would say, "That's amazing. You're going to rock it. Awesome. How can we help? How can we support you?" Rather than, "This is too much. You're being completely unrealistic. How are you going to make that happen?" So once you've decided to spend your time well and you're asking yourself that question every day and you come up with this big, exciting dream that you want to pursue, finding mentorship and community with people that are going to lift you up and tell you how amazing you are and capable, that's what you need to really propel it forward. That's the final step. And so do I believe that my mentor loves every single hour that he spends at work and that all of his 100,000 hours are green? No. And is every single minute of my day always perfect and a green hour? Do I love what I do all the time? That's just not how it is. But what I can say and what I can guarantee you through asking yourself that one question every single day is that you're going to move the needle maybe just 10%. But that means 10,000 more green hours in your metaphorical bucket. And what if you were able to do that? How would your work change if you were able to have 10,000 more green hours? And what would happen if all of your team members in your company also had 10,000 more green hours where they were loving what they were up to? Take that to your whole company or even the whole country. What sort of workforce would we have if people were loving the time that they spent at work and happy hour meant talking about the great projects they were working on, not bashing their bosses? I think a generation of kids that are supported to ask themselves the question of what do you enjoy rather than what did you get a good mark in and what's going to give you the best grade on your SAT. I think raising a generation of kids that's asking themselves what they enjoy, that's the answer to a productive workforce, a satisfied workforce, an engaged workforce. So if you're willing to start asking yourself that question, then I think once you get to the end of your 100,000 hours, you're going to see that it was time well spent. Thank you.